All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to week 9 of the Texas League video podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dwayne Devastator Morrow. Along with me, we have Robert Mathis King Caldwell and Jared Highway to Evans Cowan. How y'all doing today, fellas?
Doing fantastic. Chargers had a bye week, so we couldn't lose. It was a good day.
Somehow they still lost, I feel.
Chargers didn't lose, but you did.
You know what? We'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
All right, so let's get right into some of the NFL games last week and their fantasy impact. Let's start with our Thursday night game, which was the Ravens versus the Buccaneers. We all know Tom Brady is my quarterback and Michael Evans is my wide receiver one. But Jared, I'm gonna need you to explain what the hell is going on with your QB for your favorite team.
Simply put, Mr. Brady doesn't hit. No quarterback does. They've been calling plays an effort to limit his chances to get hit. And so he's making some reads that shouldn't be there. People are wide open, but he's trying to get rid of the ball before he gets hit, overthrowing people, underthrowing people. Plus, I think pinning the voice also had a little effect on him. Now that that's kind of out in the open, I think he might rebound, but we're going to find.
So you saying Tom Brady was on his Isley brothers hearing footsteps in the dark on Thursday?
I think it's a little more to it than that, though.
Well, enlighten us, my brother.
Okay. What has Tom Brady usually always had? A solid running game that going along with his passing game. The last 2 weeks, I don't think the Bucs got over 50 yards in either game, rushing, combined.
Yeah.
That's what's killing him. Now he's 100% one-dimensional, and he doesn't have that tight end blanket like he always used to have. And so he doesn't have enough time to get rid of the ball. And he ain't got no Fournette. Fournette normally he's a great back. He's a strong back, but he can't do the load by himself. He had 25 yards, 23 yards, something like that. He didn't have a lot. He ain't producing. Good. Brady's gonna try to do everything with his arm. Nah, he ain't gonna do it. He our age, for Christ's sake. He can't do it like that anymore.
This is very true. So on the other side of the ball, we had the Ravens, who Lamar Jackson, again, fantasy owner for a different league, but for the first half of the game, he was also non-existent. So, interesting that he was able to put his team on his back basically in the second half and have a solid fantasy game overall. Let's see. Just so I don't get this wrong, ended up with 238 and 2 touchdowns, a little bit over 40 yards rushing on the ground. So solid game, but from a fantasy standpoint, when you got Lamar Jackson, when you look at the numbers that like Josh Allen is putting up and Mahomes is putting up and even Tua and Jalen are putting up, you want to see a little bit more out of Lamar point-wise. But for him, he'll tell you he got the most important thing for his team, which was the W. And on the road. So, hats off to Lamar for taking care of business. And I saw an article where after that Brady and Lamar, Brady told Lamar he's next. And I have to concur. Lamar is still showing that he is one of the best young quarterbacks in this league. I don't know why his name doesn't get mentioned the way it should when they're talking about, quarterbacks in the NFL and in that upper echelon, because this is, man, 2 seasons ago, this man was an MVP in his second year in the league, and he's only going to get better. So, it's a big gamble that he took with his pending extension. But for now, looks like his bet on himself is going to pay off in the long run. So we'll move to the next NFL game on our agenda for this week, which was the Raiders versus the Saints in New Orleans. Now, the problem basically with the Raiders is they never got off the airplane. After coming off of a solid overall win last week against the Texans, we just stunk in all 3 facets of the game. And it's not like it's not like the Saints were just scoring at a ridiculous clip. Like they put up 24. That's not an insurmountable amount of points for you to overcome, but we could not move the ball. Carr had 101 yards in the air. Devontae, 1 catch for 3 yards. I think he might have had 6 or 7 targets. No running game because by the time the third quarter happened, we were just throwing. Carr threw a pick. It's just a bad day overall. On the other side of the ball, Alvin Kamara delivered to what he told his team last week. We got to get our swagger back, and came through with a solid 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. I mean, he did this week what Josh Jacobs did last week. So, don't need to dwell on when a game is that bad, as coaches told us all growing up, just burn that film. We know it, when everything was that bad, there's really no reason even to review it because there's nothing to take away from that game that you can use going forward. So we just shake that off and move forward and get ready for the Jaguars this week. So luckily the team didn't even have to travel back to Vegas and face the fans. So because it was 2 East Coast games back to back, the Raiders are in Florida this week prepping for the Jacksonville game. I know we better do a damn better job this week than we did last week. I know that much. Dr. Dukes, did you see the ending of that Panthers and Falcons game?
Oh my God! You talking about when the homeboys scored and got their personal foul and moved the extra point back to like a 40-yard joint and missed, go to overtime. Kicker has a chance to redeem himself, missed again. No, I ain't see it.
I mean, you got to feel bad if you are DJ Moore because you were on the end of what is at this point the touchdown pass of the year. I mean, Walker threw an absolute bomb to him in the end zone. I mean, on the move too. But he put that thing over the head of 2 defenders in a DJ Moore. DJ, run to the sideline, take your helmet off. I can't imagine what it must have felt like when he caught it, because the fact that he didn't take his pants down a la Randy Moss style and just moon the crowd after making that catch is impressive. But I mean, you can't put your team in a bad position like that. Now, the kicker also can't just go out there and lose all faculties and self-control because, yes, he moved it back and it's a longer kick, but it's not an unmakeable kick.
Right.
And then, you just carrying it over into overtime. Meanwhile, Younghoe Koo for the Falcons came through and just delivered cool as the other side of the pillow. So, yeah, you got to pay that man if you Arthur Blank because he's keeping your team excited right now. And if I'm not mistaken, that win combined with them beating the Panthers actually put Atlanta probably in first place in the NFC South currently. So who'd have thought that at the beginning of the season?
Right. At 4-4, they are first in the NFC South. You're right.
That is wild. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, very briefly, who are the Lions? The Lions are who we thought they are. Great ground game from Williams, but they came out firing. They found their offense, which they hadn't found the week before and the week right after their bye.
But they start hitting their tight end, and then they get rid of them.
We're going to talk about that. So that right there is just a wild trade. That was one of the most unexpected trades of the week, I would have to say, at the deadline. But so far, the record shows that the Lions are who we thought they are. Moving on. Eagles against the Steelers this week. I mean, it was... Jared, talk to me about A.J. Brown.
I'm going to preface it by saying this. The Eagles are undefeated, but I also want to know, who have the Eagles really played? They haven't played anybody that's just scary when you look at them on paper. The only team they played that I think they might have a winning record is the Cowboys. I take that back. They played the Giants, but do we really think the Giants are that good?
No, they actually haven't. They actually haven't played the Giants. They beat the Cowboys.
Okay. They beat the Cowboys. Anybody else on me? I haven't really looked at their schedule.
They also beat the Vikings.
I don't recall.
They got the Titans and the Giants. The Titans and the Giants, I think, are going to be their 2 toughest games.
Yeah, They get the Texans on Thursday. Okay, yeah. Right. Start all your Eagles. We'll get to that later.
Buying into the Eagles early this week against the Texans. I hear you. I mean, but
like I guess it's like this. My coach used to always say, you can play who's on your schedule. And they playing who's on their schedule. They beating who's on their schedule. And they doing it convincingly. So there's no doubt that they were the better team. And they may not be playing the top tier teams. They don't have Kansas City. They don't have Buffalo. They don't have those teams on their schedule. But the ones that are on there, they're beating them handily. So I guess you're talking about the Lions. Now the Eagles are who we thought they were. We thought they were a strong team. They did line up against. And until they lose, they're going to be who we thought they are.
I mean, Jalen Hurts, we're talking about a guy that since college, people have doubted his ability to play quarterback. But this is a man who's played quarterback, won a championship, Heisman runner-up, high-level play for Alabama and Oklahoma, and now here he is just calmly going out, throwing for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFL. And people wondered this offseason if he was going to continue the strong play he built on last year. I think it's safe to say that Jalen Hurts can play quarterback in this league, and all the naysayers need to just go ahead and step to the side. And even though we're not really gonna touch too much on the Miami game, I'll also say the same thing about Tua. I was a doubter. I will admit that I was a doubter of Tua, less of Jalen, more of Tua, because of his injury history. But Tua is throwing the ball well downfield, and dare I say it, will we actually have 2 Alabama quarterbacks to finally break the stain of NFL Alabama quarterbacks? Because the last great Bama quarterback in the NFL currently is still Ken the Snake Stabler, who played for the Raiders. So they have three possibilities right now in Mac, Tua, and Jalen. So we'll see how those gentlemen continue to do in their careers. Again, a team that we're not really going to focus on too much this week, but we just got to point out new QB, same results for the Colts, who continue their woeful ways. But unfortunately for the Colts, Andrew Luck is not walking through that door. So until they find an answer on the offensive side of the ball to figure out a scheme or plan of attack where they're going to put up points, their season's going to continue to be a wash.
Moral victory, Colts quarterback had a passer rating of 100. Moral victory. I mean,
yeah, no moral victories.
I'm trying to get him something.
I don't. Only thing I care about is that Jonathan Taylor still hasn't cracked 100 yards since the first game of the season. So,
but he's getting there. He got 76, so he's starting to make his way up there.
Almost doesn't count, like the horseshoe on that damn helmet. Fix it. Fix it, Taylor.
Who gonna fix it? They just fired the offensive coordinator.
Listen here, I don't care who they fire. I don't care if they got to bring in Bernard King to run the offense. They need to fix it immediately. Call Peyton, call Eli, hell, call Archie. Call Arch Manning if you need to come in and play quarterback for you. All I know is my number 1 pick is looking real suspect right now. And so outside of
Chris
that,
is looking very good.
All right. All the other top 5 running backs, Barkley, run CMC, 3 touchdowns on Sunday. I mean, this boy had a rushing, passing, and receiving touchdown on Sunday.
That's some Madden stuff right there.
Right? And Chris fell into Chris's lap by accident on some bullshit.
Got a little sore about that, bro.
Because I am.
I know.
So, but yeah. So I need Jonathan Taylor to get it together from a fantasy standpoint. I don't care what the win-loss record is. I just need Taylor to start getting me 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns every week so that I can feel happy about this number 1 pick that I spent on him.
Greedy. Greedy.
Extremely.
100 yards, 5. Just briefly.
If Jonathan Taylor is getting a total of 100 yards per game, like if he's getting 100 to 125, there's no reason for him not to get in the end zone at least once. And chances are, if he's getting 125 yards on the ground and through the air, he can get a touchdown both ways. I don't think it's too much to ask. Not as a fantasy owner, not for all the fans of the Colts out there, not for
Got
the
fans still?
not for the Ursay family. Like, come on, man. Cross them white lines. That's all I'm saying. Don't be afraid of it, brother. You can cross that line. And so then that brings us, of course, to Monday Night Football. Joe Burrow continues to have woes against the Browns. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but I swear it was a stat I heard last night or this morning. He is now 0-4 against the Browns in his career as a starter. That's rough, especially him being an Ohio guy. You know, so for the first 3 quarters of the game, it didn't look like Joe even knew that there was a game. I mean, Myles Garrett was on his ass like white on rice in a glass of milk on a paper plate in the snowstorm. He could not escape the defense of the Browns. But he woke up, ended up throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns late. From a fantasy standpoint, again, 2 touchdowns he threw late. For me, I appreciated the Browns defense for the simple fact that I was going into Monday Night Football with a lead, with my opponent having both Joe Burrow and Boyd. So there was a very good chance that QB wide receiver stack could have given me a late L heart attack. And they did end up hooking up for a damn touchdown. So, you know, I was praying all day long for a low scoring game, and especially for the Bengals side, and that's what they ended up with. But can we also just talk about for a moment the beast that is Nick Chubb? So talk to me, Deuce.
Well, hurt from a fantasy standpoint, since I was playing against the Browns defense, I taught the Browns defense not to get so damn points. And so that, unfortunately, that hurt me. To the tunes of, you know, L number 7. Not that I'm counting. But I don't know what to make of that game. That's not Joe Burrow I was expecting to see. That was like the Joe Burrow from LSU his sophomore year Joe Burrow. I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
And he ain't even injured, so at least maybe if he got hurt, I'm like, all right, you know what? I might give him a pass because he, you know, tweaked his fucking pinky toe or something. I don't know. But, you know, yeah, it was just, let's just say I was throwing shit watching that game.
Jamar Chase not being there was a huge loss of a weapon. And he's going to be out for several weeks, you know. So this was
they didn't have a running game yesterday or on Monday either, which
no, they didn't.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, they and again they didn't have to abandon the run early because the game was at half, it was only 11-0, right? You're a touchdown and a field goal and a 2-point conversion down. So you didn't have to completely abandon the run, but it just wasn't working for him. Like I said, Cleveland's defense came out and they really put on a show for the home crowd for the first 3 quarters of the game. And really, in those 2 late touchdowns, the outcome was a foregone conclusion by the end of the third. Like they were coasting and, you know, gambling on plays, trying to be pretty and make picks or whatever. And so, you know, you end up giving up a couple of late touchdowns, but when the Bengals had the ball for the very last time, they shut all that crap down. And and reminded them, nah, this is our house, this is our game, and sent him home with the L. So very solid week. And I definitely want to get to Amari Cooper, but we are absolutely going to wait until Calvin rejoins us because he's going to acknowledge my comments about Amari Cooper. We're going to make sure that the Amari Cooper effect gets recognized. So let's talk a little bit about, so today was the NFL trade deadline. And there were several trades made, lots of new faces in new places, etc. So, of course, some of those were defensive players that we don't care about from a fantasy standpoint. So, we're not going to talk about any of them, but we are going to touch on some of the offensive players. One big surprise you already talked about was the Hockensen trade. So, touch on that a little bit for me, Deuce.
So I was actually very surprised. I know we've already said, Detroit's exactly who we thought they were because they prove it year in and year out. They find a way to just mess up their program. Hockensen had a great game. He's actually had a great few couple of games, in all honesty. Goff likes hitting his tight end. He's always liked hitting his tight end. His tight end has been earning his money. And then the flip side, Detroit's are like, okay, our tight end's doing good. What can we get for him? I swear that's what they look at every single time. Now Hawkinson's sitting there like, oh, y'all don't want me? Oh, let me go somewhere else. I can use my talents and let me get paid. That's exactly what this cat's gonna do. So again, I don't get it. I don't understand why get rid of the one asset that has been consistent all season for what? I think what they get for him? A second and third or something like that?
Right. Definitely not enough value for the kind of target that he is. The most
Minnesota got it. Oh my God, Minnesota's gonna be. I can't wait to see them on Sunday because they got the running game with Dalvin Cook. They got hellified receivers. Now you give freaking what's his name? I can't even think of the kid's name. You give that damn quarterback another damn weapon at tight end.
Cousins,
thank you. You give Cousins that damn weapon at tight end. Minnesota's trying to do something.
They are. I'm very surprised that they traded the kind of weapon that Hockensen is away within the division. Like not even within the conference, in the division.
Well, you're gonna see this fool again, right?
It's not that he got signed as a free agent. You traded him in the division, and yes, you do have to play him. So he's giving Kirk Cousins the kind of weapon he hasn't had since Kyle Rudolph, and we all talk bad about Kirk Cousins, and he's the 2% milk of quarterbacks. He is the middle of the pack of the bread. Like he's the soy vanilla latte when it comes to quarterback at times. But he and the Vikings are playing extremely well this year. And giving him an extra weapon like that can stretch the field, that can go over the middle. Hockensen's not a bad blocker. If you want to use him on decoy, like that's huge. So combined with the Packers' terrible play, the Bears are who they are, and Detroit basically having a mini fire sale, the Vikings are setting themselves up for a good run to claim the NFC North Division, which the Packers have kind of had a stranglehold on for a very long time between the Favre and the Rodgers eras. So,
as a Kirk Cousins fantasy owner, I am appreciating the addition of Hockensen because I like Deuce said, I don't know why the Lions let him go. And I would like to double back and say that I did hear your comment about Amari Cooper.
Oh, we're going to get to it. Don't worry. We're going to get to it.
You know what? I did not believe. Actually, last week you said you pulled up the stats. I'm like, all right, I see it. Then he proved it again. So you know what? They say numbers don't lie. That man only plays at home. So basically, what you're telling me is always play Derrick Henry against the Texans and only play Amari Cooper at home for daily fantasy purposes. Got it.
You can play Amari Cooper, but just don't expect him to produce unless he's at home. Speaking of, let's stay in the NFC North here for another second, as we saw the Steelers trade Chase Claypool to the Bears. Justin Fields gets a new weapon to throw the ball to, but will he actually throw him the ball? Can he throw him the ball? But what does this mean for the Steelers and their young quarterback, Jared?
I really think that they just had a few too many pieces, and they were just trying to say they don't want to re-sign them all. because you got Deontay Johnson, who they just re-signed. Then you got George Pickens, the rookie. I guess Claypool was the odd man out, so they just got something for him because they got a second round pick. If you let him go in free agency, compensatory pick is what, third round? So they got more than they were
At
going
the
to get. If they let
most.
him. So I guess he was an odd man out because not to mention you brought in a young tight end. So I guess he was an odd man out. They got rid of him, send him to Chicago where he can't really come back to. You don't have to see him every year. And on top of it, Justin Fields gets another legitimate target because my motto all season has been I don't trust none of the Bears. Justin Fields is showing okay, he's showing he's slow. He didn't last year was a debacle. This year he's looking like he got the potential to be somebody. And now you got him a legit receiver. So when he start running these
Don't sleep on Chase Claypool.
throw it down the field to a big target Claypool. There's a few games. Because he big, he fast, he can make some plays. The Bears might surprise a few people this year.
Yeah, maybe next year. But but the thing about Claypool is, again, on Sunday, he showed us he's a versatile weapon with a passing touchdown of all things on Sunday. Your wide receiver threw a touchdown to your defensive player of the year defensive end. You got to love football in the NFL. I guess he got tired of his brother. Say again?
The brother is the full. The brother.
Oh, the brother's the fullback is one.
That was the fullback.
Do you know I forget that both of them are on that team? I forget that both of them are on that team. But thank you for the correction.
You know that the Steelers out here were. I thought they had two sets of brothers on the Steelers, I thought they had two Edmonds brothers too, or did one of them go?
I'm not sure. That's a great question.
I might be, but I thought they had two sets of brothers. I thought they had the Watson. I thought they also had the Edmonds. But let me go see if I can do a quick search and Chris, when you need, I bet he know.
There appears to only be one Edmonds brother on the roster. Let's yeah.
Maybe the other one left.
Maybe. But yeah. But that was thank you for correcting me because I certainly thought that was the defensive end. Well, I guess that then TJ continues to get teased as the only Watt brother who doesn't catch touchdowns. All right. So then let's see a couple of other trades. So Kadarius Toney goes to Kansas City in the rich getting richer situation. I mean, good grief. How many weapons are you going to give Patrick Mahomes? Like,
don't forget the Bills getting that quarterback from the Colts.
Don't worry. We're going to get to that too. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, they've seen that their defense is not the same defense from last year. The Chiefs are giving up tons of points this year. So they were like, well, we can either try to fix a shaky defense or we can try to put the game in the hands of our all-world $500 million quarterback. We'll put it in the hands of the all-world quarterback and try to win this thing for us. And in a truly head-scratching move, the Colts and Bills swapped second-string running backs this week. Nyheim Hines went to the Bills and Zach Moss went to the Colts. From a fantasy standpoint, do you think it's going to make any impact?
I mean, Hines is finally going to get to go to the playoff. I mean, and not as a spectator. He'll get to be standing on the sideline.
This is very true. I mean, he'll still probably be on the sidelines a lot. It'll just be a much better view.
Yeah. And he'll get to be behind, Singletary? That's out there and be like, you know what? Let me see what this brother's doing. Okay, I can try to do some of that. I'm younger, so I just buy my time. Hopefully he don't get hurt, but if he does, let me step right in.
You got to feel kind of bad if you Zach Moss though. I mean, you went from sugar to not sugar in a very swift afternoon. I mean, it is not a good situation. But you know what? If I'm Moss, I'm looking at it the same way. All I can do right now is treat the rest of this season as an audition for a better situation next year. So the expectations for him to produce are going to be a lot lower because there's just not a good team. So all he can lay it all out, go balls to the walls. You don't have to save. Don't save anything for the playoffs because you won't need it. Trust me.
Let me ask you two something. Being Houston Cats, well, I guess now you're in Dallas, but we're pretending like you're still in Houston. What are your thoughts about Brandon Cooks not being traded?
Contract too big. I saw that this morning. His next year's contract is something like it's either
Like 14?
8. No, it's 18.
Oh, I thought it was higher.
It's
Is
18.
it 18? Okay.
It's 18 million. The contract restructuring would have had to be when he didn't get a restructured contract on Monday. That's how you know he wasn't going to be moved because the contract restructuring deadline is the day before the trade deadline. So no restructure, no movement. Brandon Cooks is a solid producer. He's still one of the fastest players in the league. Can still take the top off of a defense, and he's also not afraid to catch the ball underneath. But 18 million? No.
Yeah.
There's a lot more. You can get a whole lot more wide receiver for 18 million than just one Brandon Cooks. So that's not surprising. He will not be
do it for half that.
He will not be on anybody's roster at that amount next year. So he won't be. The Texans will more than likely. He's going to either have to restructure, or the Texans would rather take the dead cap hit. I'm guessing, versus because it's not going to be as bad on them as that 18 million. It's still not going to be that bad. And 18 million, Brandon Cooks. I don't see it. From a business standpoint, I just don't see it happening. But all right. So that being said, let us take a look at how we did last week. So here are the scores from Texas League last week, and we're not going to harp on them too much, but I do want to point out our defending champion, the Big Green, came through hardcore this week. 179 solid points. But the crazy thing is her opponent actually had a really good week as well. He put up 126, which definitely would have won him. He would have beat about 5 other teams in the league this week had he not been playing Big Green. But let's just take a look at some of her producers. I mean, Dak with a solid game, but I'm going to go with the phrase that Skip Bayless likes to use. One of those touchdowns and a lot of those yards were empty calorie yards late in the game. So he had a late touchdown to kind of push it to 2. Great from a fantasy standpoint, great for the Cowboys fans, but it was still a little bit, Diet Coke-ish. Tyreek got his quarterback back this week, 188 yards. Him and so the Miami duo right now, the Miami wide receiver duo right now, have the most yards through 7 games than any other duo, including the greatest show on turf. So they're producing, and Tyreek continues to show no matter where he goes, he's still the cheetah. If you watch the game, you can still see he often has to slow down and catch passes thrown by Tua. But again, that's not surprising because he just moves so fast, you can't help but have to try to keep up with him. Running back duo, Alvin Kamara, I guess 3 total touchdowns versus the Raiders. And of course, Derrick Henry against the Texans. Anybody who is a Texans fan, a Titans fan, or a fantasy owner who's had Derrick Henry since he's been the Titans starting running back can tell you. Derrick Henry versus the Texans equals at least 150 yards, at least 2 touchdowns. He had 219 and 2. And looked for all intents and purposes to be the King Henry that we know him to be. That's been running and beasting in this league for the last several years. We all picked Big Green because of Derrick Henry, and as we saw, he was one of the big difference makers. It's not like Super Mario Cristobal and didn't have a solid running back production on his side of the ball. I mean, Chubb and Aaron Jones both had solid games. They just didn't have great games, and it would have taken great games in order for them to pull out the win. I already talked about my game, which came down to Monday Night Football. I was sweating, not gonna lie, but I was able to pull out the win and get my third win of the season. So hopefully we can stack a couple more. Stairway to Evans versus Kirkwood. Talk to us about that one, Jared.
Look who we got at quarterback. We about that matchup earlier. When Jalen Hurts just and then AJ Green decided, not AJ Brown, they wanted to play pitch and catch all game for 3 touchdowns. So he went for a nice little amount. Then we had Christian McCaffrey, who decided that he was going to be. He's like, oh, what? Jimmy G not playing real good. Let me go ahead here and throw me a touchdown. He threw one. He caught one. He threw one. He caught one for one. He said, I'm just going to make sure that they understand that they didn't waste their draft picks for me.
Exactly.
You know what? We the only game on TV this morning, so I'm gonna show everybody that they traded James Robinson for a reason. He came up for 23, and then the man I think earlier, young Waco, got 13 points, and my team scored twice what they did last week. With a horrible performance, so we got triple digits this week, but we just didn't have enough to compete with Kirkwood this week. But you know what? We still 6-2. So you're gonna take some L's over the season. I never played fantasy and undefeated. So I'll take the loss. I'll take the loss here versus one in the playoffs.
The biggest surprise though is, and I really just realized this. He had a player that put up 0. And that man still put up almost 160. That sometimes a team it's just their week. And so when something like that happens, you just have to shake it off and then move on from it. Alas, we come to our friend Mathis King. Talk to us, Deuce.
Well, those 3 points from Derek Carr didn't do me a whole lot of good.
No, it did not.
Like I said, watching the Cardinals game and watching Murray actually do something, I'm like, literally Murray's the difference. And I started Murray, and I switched it to Carr just before the games kicked off.
I feel so bad for you about that. That's just bad juju. But after last week's performance, last week, you're like, okay, they cooking,
And so, you know what? I made that switch. Of course, I'm regretting it. Hindsight, always after the fact, I'm regretting it. But it was what it was, and the 15 points by Cleveland's defense that put up, wasn't a lot I could do about it. Buff Dyer put up 15 on defense, and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I did not think Cleveland would sack him 5 times. I mean, maybe 2, but not 5.
It was all over Joe B, man.
I know. I mean, I had a chance. And it just didn't work out. And I lost by almost 20, I should have won by like 10, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Doesn't matter. Took that L. I mean, on my bench, literally, Murray's the only person who could have did something.
Indeed.
That would have gave me the W. But, I took my loss number. I'm rocking on 12th place. That's okay. I'm holding it down at the bottom. Somebody need to hold it down.
With the injured player in from Thursday Night Football.
See, I was trying to bypass that, but that's cool.
Hey, man. Listen, we all have to take our lumps. Like, I have to take my lumps from my real life team, hitting that 0 on Sunday. So ain't no hiding from the bad news around here.
I hate that this is only like the 3rd or 4th time yet this season that I went 3-1, and the one's always in this damn league that I get a loss in.
It's a rough year for you, my friend. So let's take a look and see where we stand in our predictions this year. So this past week we all went 4-2. So Jared still keeps his 1-game lead over me for the season lead, while Deuce is not quite at 50%. So I want to talk about this hanging with Hernandez versus two boobs, two balls, one goal game real quick because I got clowned last week because of my pick. I had a gut feeling on that game because, you know, when it comes to fantasy, you can look at the stats, you can look at the numbers, you can look at the matchups, but even Matthew Berry himself will tell you, if you have a feeling in your gut, go with it. And I had a good feeling in my gut. Here is the thing that kicked my gut feeling in the balls. AJ Brown going for 36 points and Devontae Adams going for less than a total point. Those two things offset my gut feeling. But I was on the right track. I stand by that pick. But had I made that pick differently, Jared and I would be tied and I would have won the week. But that's okay. I don't feel bad about my pick. All right. So let's talk about this week's games. Let's get right into it. For some reason, the commissioner has labeled this week Rivalry Week. Can you explain that, Commissioner?
I saw that and I thought to myself, Yahoo picks a rivalry week. And I just forgot to turn it because there is no real rivalry. I'm not sure why this is rivalry week. I know Yahoo automatically picks one, and I guess I just never turned it off. So I don't see any real rivalry games out there that I can think of. But you know what? It is what it is. We're just gonna run with it.
Even in our pre-production notes, I put rivalry week with the question mark because I was like, I don't get it. I mean, I'm looking at the matchups and I don't see no major cases of beef except for, you know, fantasy, little smack talk now and then. But I ain't think y'all all had beef like that. I mean, Chris cheers for the Steelers and I cheer for the Raiders, and we're gonna see each other a little bit later on this season, you know, in their house.
Rivalry would be like me versus you when the Chargers are playing the Raiders. That's a rivalry.
That makes more sense. You know, if Jared would have played the shirtless one in that same week, then those, you know, husband versus wife, that would have made sense for it to be. But next year, let's actually make it a legit rivalry week. All right, let's get into this week's games. Let's start with Ed Corn. Speaking of the shirtless wonder, who took over first place in the league, let's talk about Ed Corn versus hanging with Hernandez. Deuce, talk to me a little bit about this one.
All right, this matchup has so the shirtless wonder got some great wide receivers. You got Diggs, you got Waddle, and Gibson at running back for Washington has been doing really good. I like his chances. Obviously, he needs a defense because his defense is on bye. But you can't skip out on Tua because, granted, Tua will throw to Waddle, so, you know, he'll get some points. But I think what's going to be key here, how do the Raiders bounce back from what happened to them last week? That's going to be the difference. Does Devontae Adams get his yards? If the answer is yes, and like by a huge margin, then I think this game's going to be really, really competitive. Now, I know that the stats on here said it looks like it's going to be a 11-point win for hanging with Hernandez. I think it's going to be way closer than that if he finds a defense.
Does he have a backup defense on the bench? He does not, so he needs one.
But he can pick up somebody. And then what Aaron Rodgers is going to come out against Detroit? Now, normally, he plays pretty good against Detroit. If Detroit comes out like they did last week or a couple of days ago, Aaron Rodgers, in theory, should have a really good game, in theory. You know, theories don't always work on the field, though. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say that Rodgers is probably going to have a decent game. Diggs and Waddle are going to show the hell out. And without knowing what Adams is going to do, Shirtless Wonder's going to get this win, even though he's projected not to. Shirtless Wonder's going to get this win.
That is a bold prediction. Jared, what do you think?
You do something to catch up.
Yeah, and see? Oh, so see, it's cool when you do it, but it's a problem when I do it.
Hopefully it works in my benefit and it doesn't get the same results that you had.
Still stand by it, even though it was wrong. Jared, what do you think?
I'm not gonna let the senior spreadsheet run away with this. I'm gonna go with shirt wonder as well because y'all showed me a team that Detroit has stopped this story. I wait because there are none. Their defense is horrible. So Aaron Rodgers has a bounce back game, in my opinion. Even though he has Tua as his quarterback, the shirtless wonder got Waddle. That can kind of offset them points. Every time you throw him a touchdown, y'all kind of scoring points together. We got you got Gesicki, who's been low key. He been low key producing that and getting some catches and some yards these last couple. Or is he? Let me see. Does he have the Amari Cooper home and away? No,
No, not
he
quite.
just.
But he definitely had his best game away from Tua this season. He definitely had his best game when Tua was out.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, but these last couple of weeks, he been scoring some touchdowns, making some plays, doing a doing a horrible version of the gritty, which I hope he retired already.
He said
You
on
got
Twitter. He
Stephon
said
Diggs.
on Twitter he would. I sure hope he sticks to that.
I'm going with the shirtless wonder, especially since I just traded him DJ Moore, who they ain't got nobody to throw the ball to in Carolina. He's been racking up catches these last couple of weeks.
Indeed. Well, I'm gonna be the odd man out. As a person that's been watching Tom Brady not produce week after week after week, who keeps hoping that he breaks the cycle, I think that that's the same trap you're both falling into this week with Aaron Rodgers. How many times have we said that this season? It was supposed to be a breakout game against Chicago. Oh, then it was supposed to be, well, if he gets into a shootout with Buffalo, he's going to have to put up points. Well, he didn't in either case. He's got 2 games where he scored over 20 and has not scored over 21 fantasy points this season. And even though Detroit's defense can't stop anyone, Rodgers' wide receivers can't catch anything. And unless they can catch, he don't get scores. So unless he plans on rushing for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday, he's not going to – I don't see him having the kind of breakout game that you guys see for. I just don't see it. Like if earlier this season, if this is weeks 1 through 4, I would be on the same thing. I'd be, hey, Aaron's going to figure it out. He's going to get it together. If I'm wrong this week, then I'll take that. I'll take being wrong, but I'm not ready to put my trust in Aaron from a fantasy standpoint yet because the Packers are going backwards and it's mostly on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to go with hanging with Hernandez this week.
Bold move, sir. Bold move.
I don't think it's bold. I think the numbers support me this particular week.
So you saying you're using analytics? Is that what you're saying?
Nope. I'm saying I'm going with my gut.
I respect that.
All right, 2 boobs, 2 balls, 1 goal versus Super Mario Crystal Ball. Jared, your cousin has had a yo-yo of a season and sits at 500. How do you think he's going to do this week versus 2 boobs, 2 balls?
It's hard for me to go against Josh Allen when he's going against him. It's hard to go against Josh Allen this year, period, because he's just been dicing up everybody. And then we get A.J. Brown versus the Houston Texans. He just scored 3 points against he scored 3 touchdowns against the Steelers. I think he can go at least for 2 before he sit down and say, okay, that's enough. He's like, I'm tired from 3 on Sunday. It's Thursday. I'll just score 2 and I'll go sit down. But some of these other players he has a little questionable. Adam Thielen, I don't know. He is playing Washington, but my thing is this: I think that they get up early and they run the ball a lot. Not a lot of love there for Thielen because Washington, I don't. Not with Taylor Heineke out there. He gonna throw some picks and they gonna have some short fields. Dalvin Cook might be, but he not his matchup. I think Joe Mixon I think they try to get the run game going so they don't have a repeat of Monday night. Try to get him going. Take some pressure off of Joe Burrow. The question is, which Jacksonville actually, I only have to ask which Jacksonville don't show up. They run the defense has been pretty bad this year. So I think Josh Jacobs gets back on track. Dawson Knox, I have no idea. He tight end has been so volatile this season.
It really has been. But he caught a touchdown. The crazy thing is, it was a 1 yard touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, or like a 3 yard touchdown or something like that. So
that man had 2 touchdowns, really.
I mean, it's better than 10 yards and no touchdown, I guess. Which would have been a total of 2 points. But you catch a touchdown and jumps him all the way up to 8. Who else does he have? Yeah, Will Disley ain't looking like a much better option at tight end for him.
Yeah.
Let's see. See, this is interesting because I see Cooks there, and the Texans are gonna have to throw a lot. So I wonder, if they're gonna roll with Cooks instead of Tyler in that flex spot by the time things kick off on Thursday night. That would be an interesting thing to see. So, but what's your final? What's your
if
final
I was
selection?
them, I would stay with Tyler because remember, Chargers don't stop nobody from running.
I was about to say, that defense has not been what we thought it was going to be.
That's true.
So
that is very true.
Yeah, that and the fact that my cousin starting Justin Herbert, who has I'm not gonna say he's in the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady conversation.
Why wouldn't you?
He just hasn't produced.
Why wouldn't you?
I don't think he's that bad.
Has he produced? Has he produced after the first 2 weeks like he's expected to this season? And this is from a fantasy standpoint. We're not going to talk about it as from a real world NFL standpoint, but from a fantasy standpoint.
Seattle. It says he had 293 and 2 touchdowns. So right 302. He'll take that. But he hasn't been the consistent quarterback that he was. That's why I said he's not in the Brady Rodgers conversation, but he ain't far from it.
All right.
He played Atlanta this week. But I'm going with 2 boos, 2 balls, 1 goal.
I am too. I think that Hockensen's presence and Washington's going to be trying to be focused on Jefferson because the first step to stopping the Vikings from scoring is to stop Jefferson. The second step is to stop Dalvin Cook, and that's going to leave Adam Thielen open. If we were a full PPR league, Thielen is a solid producer on the PPR side. Like he won't put you up a ton of yards. Touchdown is either hit or miss, but he's going to have you 6 to 8 receptions in that 70 to 80 yard range to get you pretty much to double digits. So I also like 2 boos, 2 balls this week. Deuce?
We're all in agreement.
Sounds good to me. All right.
I would just like to go on and I removed the rivalry week banner because I'm like this. There's no reason for this. We're gonna go ahead and take this off.
But why mess with it now? Why not just let it play?
I didn't know. I didn't know you brought it to my attention. So.
Well, let's let it play out. That's all I'm saying. All right, company man versus Muff Divers. Dudes, talk to us.
All right, I kind of like this matchup because you got Mahomes versus Jackson. So it's like, who's going to produce the most? Now, obviously, on Muff Diver's side, they got 3 blanks sitting on the starting lineup right now that they need to kind of go in there and fix. I don't know if they have a tight end, another kicker, or a defense, but I'm sure they can scrounge something up. Nope, doesn't look like they do.
Nope, and nope.
So I wish them luck finding somebody. But scroll up a little bit. All right. Mahomes is going to get his points. He's going to figure out some way to get at least 20 points.
With a new toy.
Sidearm, yeah, right? Where he throws sidearm backwards, flips a couple of times and throws the damn ball with left hand. He's going to get at least 20 points. Metcalf against Arizona, he's going to get some points. He's going to catch a few of the little over-the-shoulder catches that can't nobody climb up his crazy tall self to get. He's going to get some points against Arizona, I think.
I think he had a discussion with Gino from the two previous games. Like, say, bruh, like one of of course, the game against the Chargers, he was injured, but that Arizona game, he was like, say, bruh, I'm out here. You got to throw me the ball.
And personally, I'm kind of hoping for a shootout in that game, which means that both him and Lockett are going to get some catches.
Indeed.
And hopefully Murray can get me some damn points so I can at least somewhat be competitive. Edwards-Helaire, is Kansas City going to run the ball now? I mean, do they need to?
The Titans defense, the Titans usually strong defense has not been great this year, except against the run.
Yeah.
Giving up the 5th fewest points to running backs this season. So I don't see, I put it to you like this. I don't see him getting points on the ground if he gets any points. It'll probably be a swing pass out the backfield or maybe a screen or that infamous KC goal line shovel pass that they love to run.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Now, if Swift for Detroit is like the Swift from like week 1, week 2, that's going to help Buff Divers, and obviously if he fills in these holes. But yeah, week 1, week 2, I was right. So if it's that Swift, he's going to be in much better shape and maybe help some fill in some of these zeros. Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be okay. Lamar Jackson on Monday night, it's going to come down to that game. I think Buff Divers are going to be down, but the question is going to be by how much coming to Monday. If it's within 25
he wants
points,
week 2, week 3 Lamar.
I know he does. I can see that. If he's within 25 points, Adam has a chance of winning. If he's not, between Jackson, Jefferson, and Singletary, I see Buff Divers getting blown out this week.
Very coin flip on the production this week. Like I said, Jefferson, that's going to be a tough, because like I said, if Washington decides we can't let Justin Jefferson beat us on Sunday, and he's a solid producer, but man,
I got company man winning big.
You got company man winning big. Okay. Jared, who do you like?
You're on mute, Colin.
I wasn't going to be the one to tell him this time. I always tell him.
Our co-host, I was laying it out so you could speak, but like I said, I'm gonna go with company man. The same reasons that spreadsheet said. I think that it comes down to Lamar Jackson, but Lamar been putting up them week 2 and 3 games. Like he been putting up solid performances, but we gonna need one of them week 2 and week 3 games to win this one, I believe. I think company man, he's lost 2-0 if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's back and winning this week.
Fair enough. I also like company man this week. I just him not be, and again he'll have some pieces to pick up, and with the exception of the tight end spot, generally your kicker and your defense aren't your biggest scoring players. But I just think that he's company man, stronger starting lineup, better matchups this week to get off of the losing streak. And unfortunately, that's going to keep Muff Diver sliding down the rankings, which is the opposite of the direction that he'd like to go. His team's had a rough couple of weeks. Did score a little bit higher this week at least, but still not producing the way that you would like for your team to produce in order for you to win a fantasy football game. So he's kind of going through a little bit of bye week hell right now. And the other side of it is injuries. Like his bench is bleeding on injury status and injury reports. So he's going to have to start making some moves. And again, if the trade deadline is open, he's got pieces to offer. So I wonder if he tries to put together a package, try to pick up a little bit more firepower, especially because right now, and we've said this all season about him, his running game is shaky. His running back game is real shaky. Both of them on high-scoring teams, but not teams that are necessarily high-scoring for the running back position. So this is a problem. This is a starting running back on a division-leading team, but the running backs, right, zero rushing touchdowns and 2 double-digit games. That's not going to get you into the playoffs or get you to fight for a championship at all. So we're all going to be in agreement this week and roll with Company Man as well. All right. So Stairway to Evans versus the Big Green. 2-time former champion, or is it 3, Jared?
Jared.
I was hoping he would just hold up some fingers. Is it 2-time or 3-time former champion?
I won 3 and she won last year, so
we got a clash. Okay, so we got a clash of league champions coming up this week, and what looks to be a pretty good game. I'm looking at some pretty solid matchups. Kirk Cousins against Washington. Washington's not very good. Kirk got a new toy. I like that matchup. Now, we just saw what McCaffrey did to the Rams on Sunday. So if there was ever a game that Tampa Bay wanted to see, this has got to be one of the opponents they'd love to have on the schedule when you talk about trying to get your run game back on track. Andrews has been producing, if I'm not mistaken. He was either for, even though he didn't really have, his last 2 games haven't been great, he has been solid all season long and one of Lamar's favorite targets. So, I mean, Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Like, I don't think that has to be said. And here's your X factor right here for me. Suspension. Oh, yeah. This is why they brought him to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So expect to see a lot more of this. So if you have other Arizona wide receivers on your team, but if you have someone on your team from Arizona besides Murray, Hopkins, or Hollywood, drop them. Because as you can see, the ball's not going anywhere else. There's only one football to go around. And as you can see, Kyler Murray loves him from Hopkins. And that's just the way the ball bounces on that. So Justin
I held
Fields,
Hopkins for 6 reasons.
Exactly. And I was not mad. I also thought about that. TJ Hockenson, old face in a new place. Williams had a solid game last week against Miami. You know,
that's because he's a tough.
Right.
He's the touchdown vulture.
He is the touchdown vulture. Derrick Henry against Kansas City. Again, Kansas City's defense not really stopping anybody this year. Now, Kamara versus Baltimore. Kamara can expect to not have the kind of game that he had on Sunday. Baltimore's defense is going to be a little bit more polished than facing the Raiders last week, but he's starting to feel like himself as a player this season. Like, one of the things that we know about Kamara is he has the ability to go in bunches and score, and you can see from his fantasy points since that injury game where he was out against the Vikings, he's come back with some purpose this year. So I think that he's still going to have a solid game, but in the end, I do not think that this game is going to be as close as the projection shows it. I think Stairway to Evans is going to win going away, in all honesty. Deuce?
Dude, you hit the nail on the head. I see Andrews with at least 10 catches on Sunday. Kupp being Kupp. I ain't even talking about him, just like you did. And what is Fournette going to do? Is Fournette, you know what? I'm willing to make I pick Stairway to Evans as well. But if Fournette gets at least 50 rushing yards, Cowell wins by 30.
Indeed. So I will make it official and ask the question. I think I know the answer. Jared, is this the week you pick against yourself?
No. Now, if I will say, if she had Derrick Henry playing the Texans this week, like last week, I'm not even thinking about picking against myself. But we got Derrick Henry versus Kansas City. And he's gonna have a good game, but I refuse to pick against myself.
Indeed. And actually, I wouldn't even think this would be a good week to pick against yourself. In all honesty, I think you're going to win this one easily, my friend. All right, Jared. So return the favor. Nope, not Jared, because it needs to be Deuce. Deuce versus Armed Rodgery. Nope. No, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. We are actually going to do Deuce. Can you break down my matchup versus Kirkwood?
All right. So here's what it kind of comes down to. Okay, we got Tom Brady and Mike Evans. You got your dynamic duo yet again. And just like any gambler out there waiting to go to Gamblers Anonymous, you still out there throwing the dice up against the wall, hoping you don't get snake eyes. And I get it. But, now that the divorce is behind him, now that he lost half the team in the divorce of Giselle, does he have his head on right to play? That's a question. Do we have that answer? We'll get back to that in a second. Taylor against New England. Is Taylor going to do something? Again, back your Gamblers Anonymous quote, I'm not sure. Your brightest spot that I see on your side, besides the fact that you need a defense, but we'll discuss that later, the brightest spot I see is Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is the brightest spot I see on your side. The only reason why I say that is because you're going against Jalen Hurts against Houston. It says he's projected to get 28 points. You better double that. Because, damn.
My goal is much like Jared talked about with A.J. Brown, is that by the end of the third quarter, Jalen is pads off in a hat with pads off in the hat with whoever the backup is going in on mop-up duty.
Because he's already thrown 3 touchdowns and ran in for 2?
No, because they've got all it's all rushing touchdowns, none of them Jalen.
I don't know about all that, bro. I'm sorry.
Or the defense is taking 3 pick sixes, whatever it takes for Jalen Hurts to have a low-scoring game that lets him sit down in this game early. That's what I hope happens for this match.
Well, I know the statistics say this is going to be a close game. Again, I don't think it will be, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be in your favor either. And I'm not just going against you because you're a Raiders fan. It's much deeper than that, a little bit.
I would never think that, sir.
You should think that. But
I think you take joy in picking against me when you do because I'm a Raiders fan, but I don't think that you pick against me just because I'm a Raiders fan.
I respect that, and you're absolutely correct. But I do pick Mr. Kirkwood to beat you handedly because I am worried about Tom Brady. I am worried what Tom Brady is going to do. I didn't say Tampa Bay might actually win this game, but it's going to be like 12-9. So if you got Tampa Bay's kicker, you might be good, and I don't see that you have him. So, yeah, bro, I'm sorry. Chris is winning this game.
Fair enough. Jared, do you concur or do you dissent?
I concur. I spoke with Mr. Kirkwood earlier today, and I told him, I'm looking at these matchups in preparation for this Zoom call tonight. I told him, I see you winning going away. Now we go. Because
even without a tight end, I still see him winning.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm a Buccaneers fan, and the Rams and the Bucs have both been subpar this season, and it's just about who scores more. And with a banged up Cooper Kupp, because he got a little bit of an ankle injury, I think the Bucs might win. Kind of like what he said, 12-9. Ryan Suckup, MVP of the week.
Well, I am also not picking against myself this week. Yes, I do need a defense, and we'll see what's out there on the waiver wire a little bit later tonight. I am realistically concerned about this Jalen Hurts matchup against the Texans. What I'm hoping is the Thursday night shortened game, that they'll give us the kind of Thursday night game we've seen most of this season instead of the one that we had the last couple of weeks, which have actually been good. So I need weeks 2 through 6 Thursday night games with a whole bunch of 3-and-outs and a whole bunch of dropped passes. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback in another league, but I'd rather lose that game than this game. Because here's the way I look at it. I'm 3-5 and sitting in 10th place. Chris is 4-4 in 6th place. That's a 1-game separation. 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about throwing in the towel. With a win and some help this week, I could move into almost playoff position. So I have to keep hope alive and pray that Tom Brady digs into that bag of magic dust that we call Deer Antler Spray straight from Ray Lewis's secret stash, and comes up with something magical for me this week to help me get the W. So here we come to our final pick of the week. Jared, talk to me about Armed Rodgery versus Mathis King. Off mute, preferably.
Armed Rodgery is missing quite a few people who are on bye. So let's see what he got on his bench.
Ooh, unfortunately for Deuce,
Yeah.
his bench looks like the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, I see Austin Eckler sitting out there. We got Allen Robinson, who going against that Bucs secondary could make some noise. And let's not forget Travis Kelce down there. Ooh. Not looking promising. It is not. You know, anybody with them people on their team, I gotta rock with Eckler and Travis Kelce and then Allen Robinson against the Bucs secondary. Under normal circumstances, Allen Robinson hasn't done a whole lot, but everybody looks good against the Bucs secondary, unfortunately. So I'm going with Armed Rodgery.
Fair enough. Our buddy Deuce has a running back problem, as in he need a running back, and
it'll be fixed by Thursday. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure of that. But unless you're getting some sort of Walter Payton, Bo Jackson hybrid off the waiver wire that we don't know about, I don't think that picking up a running back is going to be enough to overcome what's going to be subbed in on the other side this week. His heat is still on the bench, and once it really gets put in, that's going to dramatically shift.
We didn't make a comment about Ryan Suckup being the MVP of that game. He does have Ryan Suckup at kicker. You never know; he could have a surprise good game.
But it's hard to take Justin Tucker out.
So again, are we projecting Ryan Suckup to come in and kick 12 50-plus yard field goals?
Hey, it might be possible.
I mean, if we're expecting the Bucs to get to the 20-yard line 10 times on Sunday, then yes, by all means, let's roll with Suckup. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure his kicker is going to be the most accurate and longest kicking motherfucker of all time in Justin Tucker. Which unfortunately, so Jared, give us your official pick.
I'm gonna go with Armed Rodgery, but I will say he got Taysom Hill, who always tends to just miraculously pop up and score points every once in a while. But I'm still going with Armed Rodgery. I just think it might be closer than we think.
I do not think it's going to be as close as we hope it would be because Deuce is a friend and our co-host. Taysom Hill in a game also featuring Lamar Jackson, I definitely expect them to use Taysom Hill in his Swiss Army knife of moves in some capacity to try to score points in creative ways. Unfortunately, again, you have the Joe Burrow Boyd stack along with the other high scoring players on armed robbery. Excuse me. As much as it pains me, and I'm going to also give the same disclaimer that you gave. I do not pick against you because you are a Chargers fan. But I'm not saying I don't feel a little bit of joy from picking against you because you are a Chargers fan.
I get that.
But yeah, I want success from my boy Deuce, but I just don't see it this week. Sorry, my friend.
That's okay. No, don't be. When I come out victorious this week, because you know I'm betting on me. When I come out victorious this week, and it's just a little bit closer to y'all.
Even this week. So Deuce, I'm the only person this season that actually picked against himself, and I was right, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you don't think of it as bad karma. Think of it as being the analytical person that you are. So now, as the analytical person, you're telling me in your calculations and your projections that this team is going to beat this team, including these players?
No, of course not.
Okay,
statistically, analytically, I should probably be the low man on the totem pole. I should probably lose about 130 to maybe 70. But
you going with your gut.
I'm going with me. I can't do it. Because here's what's going to happen.
I respect
Arizona and Seattle shootout. Locke is going to get some points. Murray's going to get some points. Herbert's going to throw to Carter because he ain't got Williams to throw deep to. Dalvin Cook's going to get some yards. Somebody going to be sitting in that running back spot, whoever the hell that is. He'll be going to get some points. He'll going to do some creative magic. Tucker going to just kick everywhere.
Eric Dickerson going to be in that running back spot?
He might be. Don't fake the funk. He might be. I might.
Is Marshall Faulk going to be in that running back spot?
Don't make Al Bundy to get in there with his 4 touchdowns in one game. I'll get some points there. And the Chargers defense are going to run 2 back on Atlanta just because Super Mario going to either fumble the damn ball or throw it to the damn Chargers. I'm going to win.
Hey, brother, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. I will be extremely happy for you if we're wrong. We ain't going to be wrong, but I will be very happy for you if we are wrong and you do somehow pull off the upset this week.
You know what? If I got to go in and hack Nate's account just to put all these people on the bench, I'm winning this game.
I was going to say, stranger things have happened. Nate could just completely forget to set his roster.
He ain't gonna forget. We all know he ain't going to forget.
And kickoff could happen on Sunday, and all of a sudden, boom, he can't put anybody else in the game.
He's going to forget that the time going back an hour. Oh, no, so actually that gives him the next hour.
Right. So I'm just happy that this week's game with Brady isn't in Germany because, that would give me a whole nother issue to deal with him. But anyway, so those are our picks for the week. We want to say good luck to you and your teams in fantasy this week. Unless you are facing the 3 of us, of course, we wish you all the most success. Deuce and I are actually facing off in a separate league this week. So I'm hoping to give him an L. So we'll definitely update you on that because the standings in our other league are pretty close. I'm currently 2nd. I believe you are 4th.
That's 1 game behind you.
5th. So 1 game, but separated by 3 spots. So we'll have a little bit of side conversation going on next week. All right. So thanks for watching. If you ever want us to review your team, you don't have to be a part of Texas League. Just hit us up, send us the rosters. We'll be honest. And if your team really bad, we'll probably be a little bit mean, but hey, we'll have fun with it. All right, y'all. Until next time.